All right. Good morning. PT on Ice Daily Show. Good morning. My name is Cody Gingerich. I am one of the lead faculty with the Extremity Management here with ICE. And I am on here today. And I want to talk about why you should be a chameleon in your clinical practice. And I have a couple points to this. I want to talk about being a chameleon personally, like in your own like personality wise, and then also being a chameleon as far as like your clinical practice and like what types of things that you do, why you choose to do what you do with your patients, and what exercises you prescribe, etc. So the first point that I want to talk about being a chameleon is literally your personality is going to be better fit for each individual if you can somewhat chameleon your way from each person and each patient that comes in your door, right? All of us obviously have a gravitation on how we act with the people that we spend the most time around, the people that we enjoy the most, and all of these things. And we have our own personalities. But the patients that we see on any day-to-day basis are going to vary wildly from that, right? We might have people in our clinical care that we may or may not like fully jive with outside of the clinic. It might not be the person that you decide that you would be best friends with, but in the clinic, you need to be best friends with that person for that 30 minutes to an hour, right? And that is going to be your job to become best friends with them for that 30 minutes to an hour. Okay. And this goes back to what like Justin Dunaway talks about with like patient expectations. If your patient enjoys the time that they are spending with you and they enjoy coming to physical therapy, their expectations are also going to be that they are going to get better with you. Okay. And so that then leads to better outcomes. Okay. So if your like favorite thing is sports, right? Like I enjoy sports, I enjoy watching sports, I enjoy participating in sports, right? Like I can talk, like that comes very naturally to me. I'm going to generally keep up with what's happening in national news as far as like what's currently happening on Super Bowl or NFL Sundays, or like right now the Dodgers are playing the Yankees, about to start the World Series, right? I just generally know those things. And so if someone comes in and they can chit chat about sports, like that's easy. That is not me being a chameleon. That is just kind of how I live my life, and I can talk about that stuff. But there are people who have absolutely no idea about sports or what's going on in the world of sports, right? You have to be able to chameleon your personality in such a way and have an understanding of other things that are potentially going on, right? I enjoy other things, but like Broadway shows, right? I generally don't know a ton about Broadway shows. I have been to some and I thoroughly enjoy them, but I don't actively keep up with like the musicals that are happening at our local theater. That being said, if the person that I know is coming in and they do that, I'm going to probably check on like what's going on in our local theater and be able to carry on and ask a lot of questions and be best friends as far as like coming and talking to that person about different topics. Video games. I don't play a whole lot of video games, but there are certain video games that I generally like will keep up to date with if I know the person coming in is like has been looking forward to a certain video game, so that you can ask questions and they perceive you as being very interested in them. Okay. It needs to be your entire time that they're in front of you. It needs to be about them. And that means that you need to have that ability to chameleon around that person or that patient's interests. Very, very important. And so that becomes, it's like, sometimes that is like doing a little bit of research on stuff that's just kind of out of your wheelhouse, right? If someone comes in and like, oh yeah, I'm super interested in this or that, and you're like, man, I've never heard about that. That's super interesting. Can you tell me more about it? And then when they leave, you later that night, like check it out so that then you can ask some intelligent questions about that topic. It will go a long, long way. Then that person comes in and they're super excited to tell you about something that they happened over the week, right? That maybe not be your most ideal personality, but now all of a sudden they're jazzed up to come to physical therapy. They want to do what you're asking of them, and those outcomes then start to look pretty good. The second part about being a chameleon is being a chameleon with your treatment and treatment dosage of what you are choosing to do, right? um, Talking to people that really love chiropractic care, right? If they think that them getting their spine manipulated has helped them significantly in the past, you need to be able to deliver that to them because those expectations are going to be pretty high as far as those outcomes going well for you. Maybe on the flip side, though, like you love spinal manipulation, but the person in front of you has said, "Yeah, I've tried that before and it really didn't do anything, and I don't think that's going to work." You probably aren't going to get very good outcomes by doing spinal manipulation, even if that is like the thing you think might have a big impact on them. It probably won't have as big of an impact if they don't believe so. So, therefore, maybe they went to a massage therapist at one point who did cupping. And they said, "Hey, my massage therapist did cupping on me, and that seemed to really like help this thing." Okay, cool. We're not going to do any spinal manipulation today. I've got these cups. I know how to put them and how to sit them up, and we're going to go through some different motions, and that's going to help you feel a lot better, right? That's the type of chameleon you need to be when it comes to clinical practice. You need to have this wide breadth of knowledge of different treatments. Obviously, you still have a clinical expertise of, what you feel like is going to be the best thing. Don't allow the patient to fully dictate. But if there are options in your head of like, we could treat this with dry needling, we could treat this with cupping, and that patient has strong feelings, you then need to be able to have the ability to shift a little bit based on what those patient expectations are also going to provide you. Okay. Because if you really believe that this one thing is going to be excellent, but the patient feels the exact opposite, the chances are strong that the outcomes are not going to be in your favor. But if they're like, "Hey, I think this might work," or "It's totally up to you, do what you need to do," right? That's where it comes into play clinically as far as your choice of treatment options. When it comes to exercise, then we also need to be able to chameleon a little bit. We need to have a good understanding of many different exercise styles. Okay. And so that comes down to, do they like to do more bodybuilding type? Do they need like to do more powerlifting? Are they CrossFit? Do they do more hit type of workouts? Is it group fitness, or do they like to work out alone? Do they do things in their garage? What equipment do they have available to them? Right. Any of those questions that you ask is are going to lead you towards a different style of fitness that each person likes. Do they like to just go out the front door and go for a run, and that's pretty much the extent of what they like to do? Okay. You need to like, the more than fun you can create out of your accessory work that you choose for them and their rehab work, then the more willing they are going to be able to do that. Okay. And so, for instance, if someone is a power lifter, honestly, powerlifters, they do three main movements, but they do a lot of accessory stuff. Okay. So to build up their back and their leg and their chest, right? The back, legs, and chest are going to be the kind of primary that's deadlifting, squatting, and bench pressing. Right. And so they're going to do one or multiple of those movements almost every single day with some accessory work programmed in there. And so you need to know like, what kind of a gym do they go to? Most of those powerlifting gyms are going to be these grungy gyms, a lot of plates, dumbbells, etc. And so you choose your accessory work around that. Okay. If it's bodybuilding, they want specific hypertrophy to different muscles. And you can then talk that language of saying, "Hey, if you go to the cable column and you do a face pull, and I want you to do it just in this particular way because I want you to feel that mind muscle connection right here." Like, that's what bodybuilders really love. They want those specific muscle groups to feel that pump and that hypertrophy, right? Then we talk to like CrossFit, and they want to do things as fast as possible for the most part. And that's where those EMOM things come in, right? Now you're talking the language of a CrossFitter where, hey, just do this in a circuit. You can knock these things out. Like, obviously have good form, but if you do it on a minute by minute basis, you're gonna start and you're gonna stop. There's gonna be no rest break really, hardly at all, and you'll be done, right? That's how you speak the CrossFitters language. So all of these different things, you have to have some idea of different training styles, whether or not that's what you personally like to do. You still want to have a really good understanding of each of these different things, because then you can speak that language, and then that you can understand how can you build accessory and rehab program in what they already do, which is going to give you the best chance for them to actually do it. Okay. Because a lot of times, if you just say, hey, I need you to do this stuff at home, it's harder for most people as opposed to if they get into their own fitness routine and you can build it into a fitness routine, that makes life a little easier. So when you're talking about group classes of any kind, a lot of times the accessory work is going to be harder to do. So you have to ask, like, do you have the ability to be there 5 or 10 minutes early, or can you stay late, or do they pretty much kick you out of the class, right? And so these are the chameleon version of your accessory rehab exercises. Okay, so again, how to be a chameleon. There's really three ways we need to do this for overall patient expectations and outcomes. The first is your personality. You got to have a breadth of knowledge of many, many things so that each individual that comes in, you are now their best friend and you can talk about their favorite thing, not your favorite thing, right? That is your personality can have a shift of like being a little bit bigger. If someone is a bigger personality, kind of match them, right? If someone's a little bit more quiet, you can be a little bit more reserved. Those type of things, you are their best friend. Then, as far as actual delivering of treatments, right? Be a little bit of a chameleon based on what their expectations can be. And that chameleon is really just having a really well rounded skill set and having the ability to do multiple things at a high level. Okay. And that comes down to just like improving your own skill set in a bigger breadth of knowledge in your actual PT practice. Finally, as far as building out their rehab program, that is way more of a chameleon on fitness styles, right? What kind of fitness do they do? Do I have some idea? Can I speak their language? And can I build a program around that language that's going to make them more willing and acceptable to do it? Okay. So I hope that helped a little bit. You can catch me on the road this weekend in Pennsylvania. I think we've got like 2 or 3 spots left. Otherwise, we've got a few more courses coming the rest of this year, but courses are getting close to an end if you're trying to get the last CEUs for the year of 2024. So thanks for hanging out, and I will see you next time.